It is the final day of the regular season. The postseason begins on Friday. Buster Olney of ESPN is with us now on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. As always, Buster presented by AAATIX, AAATIX.com, 822-7382, Bama, Texas A&M, and Tuscaloosa. If you want to hit the road with Auburn to Athens, your tickets at AATIX, AAATIX.com, and, of course, the postseason baseball tickets as well. What's up, Buster? How are you?
Oh, man, my head's spinning. We got so much to get to today, right? The Judge and the playoffs and all that. It's the Braves, their incredible weekend against the Mets. Can the Mets pick up and set themselves up off the mat? A lot of fun as we go down the stretch.
You were very excited about Aaron Judge. Now, I'm going to be blunt with you, and I think you probably know this. There were a lot of people around here that are college football fans that got upset about Aaron's at-bats being in the college football games. But beyond that, you were very excited about the overall chase for that record. So what was your reaction yesterday afternoon when you saw it broken?
I get asked all the time, who do you root for? And I always say root for really interesting stories and good games, and I root for good stuff to happen to good people. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great team guy. Been impressed with how he's handled everything, really, from his first day in the big leagues. So, to see him go from that frustration that we saw on Monday night where he's slamming the bat, and you could tell this whole thing was wearing on him, where everyone's waiting and waiting and waiting for him to hit this record, to see him hit number 62 in the relief, that was pretty cool. Let's face it, whether you agree that, with me, that Barry Bonds is the all-time home run leader and you can't change that because, that's the history that happened or not, it is going to kick off a large conversation about the record in 62 and what it means, given what we know about the steroid era.
Now that the Yankees have locked in that second seed and he's got 62, what does Aaron Boone do with him tonight, or today, I should say?
I think because they've got this long layoff before they start to play in the postseason, in the division series, he'll probably give a lot of choices to guys in his lineup. Like he'll probably go to Judge and say, hey, how do you feel? Do you want to treat it like a spring training game? Take 3 plate appearances and then I'll pull you out of the game. Or if Judge tells him, no, I want to play the whole game. Or if Judge says, I don't want to play at all, I think Booney will do whatever he wants. And let's face it, with the Yankees, we've been so focused on Judge the last 3 weeks. That really has, I think, papered over what their biggest concern is going into the postseason, and that is this bullpen, which is a complete mess right now. There are some teams going into the postseason where their bullpen's in absolutely great shape. The Braves are one of those teams. The Yankees are at the other end of the spectrum. We have all these parts and pieces, and you're not quite sure how Aaron Boone is going to use all of them because of all the injuries and issues that they've had.
Can I go back to the Judge home run record? Roger Maris Jr.'s tweet, and I know you talked about it this morning on Get Up. Just for our audience who may have missed it on Get Up, what do you think of him calling Judge the clean home run king, and even saying kids now have someone to look up to?
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, he's coming from a place, unique perspective, being Roger's son. He loves his dad, and that's great. I think there are a lot of baseball fans who feel the way that he does, that they look at what Bonds accomplished, McGuire and Sosa, as being illegitimate. I, tend to think that in every era, there are mitigating circumstances that are unique to that time. Baseball up until 1947 was segregated. When Babe Ruth set his record of 60 in 1961, as you guys know, there was expansion, and it was thought that the quality of pitching went down. That was the year that Roger Maris hit his 61. So I disagree with him, and I look at Barry Bonds as being the all-time home run champ because he has the most in a single season, because he has the most home runs. That all said, if you ask me the question, who's had the greatest season, I'd say Aaron Judge this year, because of the context that we are in an era where there's PED testing. He doesn't have the advantages that Bonds, McGuire, Sosa had, and pitching is so much better, and hitting is so much more difficult. What Judge has done to hit 62 home runs, 16 more than the next closest guy, to flirt with the Triple Crown, it's just amazing.
ESPN's Buster Olney is with us. He joins us each week on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, courtesy of AATIX, AAATIX.com. or call locally 822-7382. Bama, Texas A&M. Auburn is at Georgia. Braves postseason tickets, all those at AATIX, 822-7382. Who do the Braves want? Phillies or Cardinals? What's a better matchup for Atlanta, do you think?
The Phillies. I mean, the Phillies I don't think are as good of a team as the Cardinals. They could upset St. Louis when you got experienced guys like Schwarber and Bryce Harper and you get into a short series. I mean, my goodness, 3 games. Anything can happen. To me, that the Phillies would be the team that if you're the Braves that you're familiar with, you probably want them and their depth would manifest. But I got to be honest, I don't think it matters anymore. I think right now, I was talking about this with one of my colleagues earlier today. Right now, I think the Braves are the clear favorite to win the World Series. With the way they're playing, with the way that they're put together, all cylinders going, power up and down the lineup, the rotation, the bullpen, and the experience of being in the postseason time after time after time. I think they're in a great place as they start the postseason.
Well, would you be shocked if the Astros, Dodgers, or Braves, one of those 3, is not in the World Series?
I would be shocked at this point if the Astros are not in the World Series. I think they're the biggest favorite that I've seen in a league in a long time. Because when you run through the other teams, the Yankees being the East winners, we talked about their bullpen issues. I actually think Cleveland is going to win the first round, and sorry about that,
Buster.
And I know, and then I think they're going to beat the Yankees in the second round too. That team is playing so well, their pitching is so good, and you've got Terry Francona as manager. That's a real weapon. Nobody's close to what the Astros are in terms of the depth of their pitching. We talked about Verlander in recent weeks, the experience of their lineup, guys like, Bregman and Altuve, the implementation of the young players on that team. Astros, to me, it would be a shock if they're not back in the World Series.
I know they don't root for certain teams or cheer for certain teams in the Major League Baseball offices, but do you think with the expanded...
Oh, yeah, they do.
You don't think in the expanded playoffs they're pretty happy that Seattle, since 2001, back in the postseason? It's got to really help that franchise a little.
Yeah, and I think if you were to drop a list in our lifetimes of the most quote-unquote frustrated franchises, right? For a lot of years, it was the Red Sox until they won the World Series in 2004. And then it was the Cubs until they won in 2016. I think Cleveland would be at the top at this point because it's been so long since they won a World Series. But Seattle is a close second. Now, what's interesting about them is that, they have this first time in the postseason in 21 years, despite the fact that they've had great players, Ichiro, Felix Hernandez, signing of Robinson Cano, and their owners have actually tried to win. Like they've spent money in an effort to win. So it's really cool that they're back in there, but don't kid yourself. MLB execs, I'm sure privately, if you gave them truth serum, they want happy broadcast partners. And so if there was a Dodger-Yankee series, World Series, I don't think they'd be brokenhearted about that.
You know what? I want to echo something Dunaway said last week. You know what excites me is us having Buster through the playoffs. Back when we were in radio and we didn't get to control the budget like we do now, Buster used to disappear in August. This is going to be fun, Buster. I greatly look forward to it, and I know you do as well. You don't look forward to joining us, but the playoffs you look forward to.
Right, exactly. We work through all of our, work round by round by round, the best games of the year, the biggest games of the year. And I'm fascinated by watching the Braves. I got to tell you, they're an interesting team to watch the evolution of that group of players. It's going to be fun talking with you guys.
Just make sure you tell the folks at ESPN the algorithms of the number of tweets you got from Braves fans because of this appearance, as opposed to being on with Greeny on Get Up. I mean, we had to be close.
See, I don't know this for sure. I'm going to double back, but I think there are a couple of Braves players who made reference to, for all those who wrote us off. And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Is that person referring to me? Because I was definitely one of those in May. There's no doubt about it. I've been reminded of that about 1 million times, and I'll get it about 2 million times more if the Braves win the World Series again.
Buster has long since owned that one. He's presented each week by AATIX, AAATIX.com, 822-7382. Buster, have yourself a terrific weekend. We appreciate the time as always.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good to see you guys.
Yep, you too. See you next week. Buster with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Again, courtesy of AATIX, Bama A&M, Auburn, Georgia, AAATIX.com or 822-7382.